All right.
Maybe.
Wow. Welcome everyone to Empowerment Moment with Dr. G. I am so excited. It is the week before Thanksgiving. Can you imagine? It is almost the end of the year, y'all. And we've made it through COVID or no COVID. Here we are. Here we are. Here we are. So every other Thursday, since the beginning of April. We've been on here to share words of encouragement, words of empowerment. Half of the time when I'm talking on here, I'm really talking to myself. And it is really talking to myself because we all have to find ways to keep us going and just keep pressing through in this season. So today I have one of my absolute favorite people in the whole world. Um, she's not only the older daughter of mine. If you didn't know this about us, she's the reason I moved to New Jersey. She's one of the reasons. And that's a long story. We'll share that one day. But I am just amazed at how much she's grown and how wonderful she is. As I'm doing this, I'm talking live. My husband is standing by the door trying to make faces. So, like, can you imagine your father? He's
That sounds about right.
like, what is he doing? He's sitting there, So this is what happens when you're trying to do live from home. For those of you who are working, you know how from home, you know how when you're working and all of a sudden your kid is doing something and you're in a business meeting, but you're trying so desperately not to say anything. Today, Nicholas did that to me. And he's in the room. I'm having this business meeting, and I'm just like trying to be like so not obvious about the fact that I'm annoyed about the stuff he's doing. It's almost like the kids just intentionally. It reminds me of back in the day when you'll be on the phone, or even now, you're talking, and then that's the only time your kids want to get your attention. Um, but yeah, anyway, we're talking about our empowerment moment, and tonight Senna's going to be on there, and we're going to talk about a bunch of different topics. And so, thank you for joining me, Senna. I'm always excited to have you be a part of this part of the work. Now she's been engrafted,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, I have been.
Yes, and
Well,
you're
I feel like I've been a part of the team for from the beginning,
from the
since day
beginning.
one.
Oh, okay. You get brownie points for that. You get brownie points for that.
Yes.
We also want to acknowledge Sean for joining us. She's one of the professional advisory board members and has traveled with me to Ghana. If you watched our week of impact when we were talking about Haven International Program, Sean was on here to share her experience. But beyond the fact that she lives in New Jersey with us, and so we're just saying hello, everyone. We're taking a different strategy today. We're actually doing YouTube Live instead of Facebook Live, just because we know not everybody is on Facebook. So if you're watching us, please share the link. Right, Sana? It's MyGOAL Autism, right? So
Yes. Yes, it
youtube.com/
is.
MyGOAL Autism. Join us. This is going to be a quick time to just share a little bit of something that I have been thinking about. So for most of you who may know or may not know, I'm a Christian who gets her faith and her strength from the Almighty God who gives me strength every day. And so, one of the key things that I do every morning when I get up at 5 a.m. Is to just really reflect and think about the things that I'm thankful for. One is having breath, one is having life. So before I jump out of bed, I am really intentional about doing what I call my devotion. So it's an opportunity for me to think about the things that I'm grateful for, the opportunity to hear from God about the things to look forward to be able to bring myself into the day, knowing that I will encounter people who needs the best of me, and I can't give the best of myself if I'm not in the best place emotionally. So it's really being very intentional about connecting to the things that matters to me. And my faith is very crucial. Now, I like to share my faith because I'm hoping that what I share with you will inspire you to continue to press through the stages of life. So today's topic is going to take on three different things. One is just a couple of words of encouragement. Another piece is just really to kick it off, talking to Senna about something that she's going through right now and how she's getting through it. And then lastly, I'm going to share some resources with you. Resources, especially for our families who are walking the journey of caring for an individual with special needs or special healthcare needs. So to kick it off, the title of the content that I'm sharing today is The Power of Words. The Power of Words, right? And I was reading this devotional by this pastor called Nikki Gumbel, and he was discussing Proverbs. So the book of wisdom is called Proverbs, right? And it was out of chapter 10. And if you reach Proverbs chapter 10 through 11 to 20, he takes a main points out of that. And I just want to just use that as a point to just really raise it. And the reason why I felt this particular conversation is important to talk about today is many of us may or may not have a big family dinner. We are really encouraging social distancing, not congregating, obviously because of the pandemic. But even if you chose to do a virtual type of conversation or dinner party, there is a value in honoring people with your words. And so one of the things he talked about was how important our words are, right? Because with kind and encouraging words, you can change a person's day or even their entire life. Your words have the power to bring blessing, you know? So the scripture in verse 11 of Proverbs chapter 10 says, the mouth of a good person is like a deep life given well. Think about it. The mouth of a good person is like a deep life given well. But words can also do a great deal of harm. So, in that second part of that verse 11 of that Proverbs, it says, the mouth of the wicked is a dark cave of abuse. So, the mouth of a good person is like a well, right? So, the well gives life. Whereas the words of someone who is not nice is like a dark cave of abuse. So, words have the power to destroy relationships. It can start fights, right? Hatred starts fights, according to verse 12 of that scripture. On the other hand, it also has the power to heal relationships because the Bible says love covers over all wrongs. Love pulls a quilt over the bickering. So, because of the climate we're in right now, because we went through an election, we saw a lot of polarization in the society. People said some things that were very not nice. Whereas I'm encouraging all of us today to really be a bridge. Let's look for opportunity to say, I'm sorry. You know, I shouldn't have allowed my feelings about whoever I'm voting for come to destroy a lifelong relationship. So words has the power to heal. You know, the control of our tongue. Sometimes we get angry and we don't think before we speak. So it's very crucial that we think before we speak, right? Because words are many. And in that same chapter of Proverbs, in verse 19, it says, the wise hold their tongue. And the former president of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, once said, it is better to be silent and thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt. Let me say that again. It is better to be silent and have somebody think you're a fool than for you to speak and then there's no doubt now that you are a fool, right? So when you're silent, they might be thinking it, but as soon as you speak, because you're going to say something foolish, everybody will know that you are the fool. And that is the wisdom in really being very intentional about not speaking before you had time to think. So let's not be quick to speak. Let's be quick. Let's be slow to speak. And it's very, very, very important that we think about that in this season, because people are going to say some things that is going to irritate you. Or they may say something about your child, or they may say something about how you're doing something. Rather than responding harshly, pause for a minute and think about what you are about to say. So, throughout this passage that I was talking about in Proverbs chapter 10, the writer of Proverbs contrasts the mouth of the fool with the mouth of the right person, right? The mouth of the fool, remember the person who's just speaking anyhow, oftentimes will speak hatred. That person could go to say things that they will have a hard time taking back. The other person who has the right mindset will speak words of love. So let's look for opportunities to speak words of love. We speak words of wisdom. We speak words that inspires, encourages, and if you are offended, do not return the offense. It is said that, now listen to this, Senna. It is said that holding a grudge against someone is like letting them live rent-free in your head. Think about that for a minute. Holding a grudge.
Living rent-free?
Living rent-free. That person that you're holding the grudge, it's like you're so mad thinking about that person is living rent-free in your head. And you can picture them and your face is getting all distorted and angry. And guess what? They're sleeping somewhere. They're not even thinking about you. So the point here is that do not let people get to you to the point where you're so overwhelmed and just not happy and just, just be still. Think about what is being said to you and choose to go the higher road. Speak well of others, even behind your back, especially if they've done anything to offend you, because you just never want to be caught, in a situation where because of the grudge or because of the things that the person has said is hurting you, because every time you think about it, you're not happy about it. So I want to encourage all of us that, especially as we're entering into this season of Thanksgiving, guess what? It's a season of giving thanks. And the best gift you can give yourself, I can give myself, is the gift of saying thanks to people, the gift of being quick to acknowledge that somebody has done something nice to me, and slow to let what people say to get me upset. So today's encouragement or words of empowerment is your words matter. Your words matter. So choose to be silent if you don't have to be silent, if you don't have to speak, and you don't have to have an answer for everything. It is better to have people ask you, what do you think? Versus you imposing your thoughts on them. Well, let me tell you what I think. Sometimes people just don't want to know what you think. They just want you to listen. So, what in this season particularly, I wanted to encourage all of us with that word. So, I hope that word blesses you. If you want to read more about it, I told you that it's in Proverbs chapter 10, verse 11 to 20, and it talks about the mouth of the good person is like a deep, life-giving well. Isn't that awesome? The mouth of a good person. So you and I will have a mouth of a good person. That means whenever we speak, wisdom will come out, good things will come out, love will come out. Let's tell our children, let's tell our parents, let's tell our families we love them, we care for them, because life is not promised. It is part of that process of being the good person that you and I are. So I hope this blesses you somehow. So we're going to switch gears for a minute and talk to Senna about something she's going through, right? So Senna, a few weeks ago, it was about a week and a half ago, you called me. And what did you tell me when you called me?
About a week and a half ago, I called my mom and I told her that I was going into quarantine because one of my friends tested positive. And just for precautionary measures, I needed to stay in my room for 2 weeks. So
So tell us, how did it feel where you had to go to quarantine?
I think at first it was terrifying because, it's one thing when you're quarantining at home because, there's just a global pandemic in general. But then the thought dawns on you that in the next 14 days, I could get sick with something that, doctors don't really know that much about. So definitely at first there was that initial panic. And then the second level of panic was telling my mom because I didn't know how she was going to react. In which she, roasted me, but that's okay. And then as time after I think day two was when I started to really settle in. And I'm a very social person. I love hanging out with people and talking to people. I cannot be alone. So being forced to be in my room by myself was a very difficult transition. But I started to kind of do some things that really helped me cope with that. And the first thing was to build a routine. Now, I mean, I'm a college student, so I don't really have a routine. So that part was very easy for me. So it's just mostly wake up, go to class, do homework, and then the time that I would usually be spending with hanging out with my friends, I kind of channeled a lot of that energy into other things. And then after that, I go to sleep at like 4 a.m. So kind of having a routine really helped me because when you're in the same place every single day, you lose focus or it becomes difficult to keep track of how many days has it been and then that's the only thing you're thinking about is oh my gosh, how many days are left, am I going to get sick? And so building that routine really helped me. um the second thing was I made it a goal to have a quarantine hobby. So originally, when we first went into quarantine in March, my quarantine hobby became nails. So I poured so much money into nails. I mean, I just did my nails yesterday. So that was what I did, and it really helped me along the way. And now my new quarantine hobby is painting. So you see, I have like four of them over there. I have this one, fall, and then I have another one. Let me see. Yeah, this is another one that I've done.
Wow.
So I know, right?
That is
I didn't even
amazing.
know that I could be an artist. So finding something to do and setting a goal for myself that I want to paint 24 paintings by the end of quarantine really gave me something to look forward to every day because I was like, okay, I want to get 2 paintings done today. I want to get 3 paintings done today. So that really helped me channel that energy that I would usually be spending with other people into an actual activity. Um, and then another thing that helped was dressing like it's a normal day. So
Oh, wow.
usually, I get up and I'll put on a decent shirt so that my professors don't think I'm crazy. So that's what I did. I mean, not that it's much of a change, but kind of getting into that routine really helped me because it's helped me switch from okay, I'm relaxing to now I have to get work done. Like when you're in one place, you don't have this change of scenery that you would usually have. So you have to kind of invent it and create it. So changing my shirt was the one thing that I did. Um, and the last thing that I think I did that really helped was although, I was spending a lot of time painting and not doing my homework, I spent also a lot of time interacting with other people. So my mom would call me every day just to talk. So that would really helped me because at least I got to interact with her. And I would also FaceTime my friends. So also finding that sense of community, even though you can't physically see people, um, really helped, a lot as well because it can be really scary when you're in this type of environment and situation. You don't know what's going to happen. So finding people that you can rely on, you can lean on when you're scared, that they'll pray for you, just feeling like you're not alone is really important. So I think that's been my quarantine experience. I have 4 more days. I'm counting them down eagerly, but it's been pretty good so far.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. And I think many of us don't ever imagine that we'll find ourselves in that situation. But the fact that you were feeling well, I'm grateful to God for that because there are people who have been exposed to COVID and end up in the hospital. Some have died, but thank God for many, many, many people who have recovered. And I know there's a lot of concern right now for a lot of people, even just being exposed or even getting sick or having to have to quarantine. And when, like Sana shared just now, if you find yourself that you do have to quarantine, rather than just leaving it to chance, plan, right? So find some activities, to do, something that will engage your time, something that will get your mind active, connect with people. I know this is a very, very, very hard time right now, but this is more than ever they need to speak out and say, hey, check on me, or, connect with me. And I think that will be very helpful. And I know for some people who get sick while they're quarantined or while they're home, it may mean resting. For some of us, we're like on a go, 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 go. You don't slow down until you actually fall sick. And so the pharmacist in me will come out to say, really take care of your immune system. That means rest. Do you know that resting is one of the best things you can do for your immune function? Really get good number of hours of sleep. Are you hearing me, Sean? You got to sleep. Sleeping is important, because oftentimes we don't allow the body to rest, and resting is a good way for the body to really regenerate the cells that will be able to fight the infections that are out there. I think it's very important to drink up your vitamin C. Can make sure that your immune boosters are on point. Eat well. So these are really basic things that we can do. Mask up, wash your hands. So we're back into that season again of being very, very more intentional about the things that we need to do, so we can make sure that we are doing what we need to do. And so I just want to just make that point right now. At this point, I'm going to Senna, is there anything else you wanted to remind people about in terms of making sure that they, while they're quarantined, they think about anything else?
Pray.
Okay.
That
Right.
honestly makes a really big difference, especially when you feel anxious.
Right.
And always remember to get tested. I got lucky because my friends and I got tested, pretty regularly, and that's how we caught it before any of us had gotten it. So always remember to, stay safe during the time as well. So
Yeah, no,
that's it from
I
me.
think I can't say that enough, that the value of just making sure you're doing all the things that we need to do. Thankfully, if you've heard out there, we're getting close to, there are a number of therapeutics or medications. One of them that was produced by Eli Lilly just got approved. And so that's medicines that people are using. They're also getting very close to approving the COVID vaccine. So, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I know it seems kind of far away, but I just want to encourage people, because as the trending of hospitalization and the number of exposures going up, we just want to not remind people and encourage people to really have a positive attitude. Because I think when we start to watch all this news about people dying, it has such an overwhelming effect that people start getting afraid. So I just want to just encourage all of us. And and then speaking to our families out there, I know many a times it's challenging to many of them to really think about, okay, do I send my child back to school? Do I, with everything else that's going on, do I do homeschooling? And then really maintaining that balance between, the socialization and also being at home. So I always want you to just take it as day by day. Think about what is the most critical piece that you need to make decision on, and then go from that, because oftentimes otherwise it's going to be very hard to think I'm just going to do it this way. But if you're finding that it's overwhelming, just take each day as it comes, because I know it's not the easy time right now. So at this time, I'm going to share a little bit of some resources that I have been using. And if you've known me, things that a lot of the things that I have learned along the journey with my, walk with raising my son Nicholas, who's the reason why we started MyGOAL. So MyGOAL is just to support families facing autism, for those who may not know the organization. And part of our mission has to be to inspire, to encourage, to empower, and above all, to connect families to resources. And I believe that resources is crucial, because in a season where you are overwhelmed, and sometimes being overwhelmed comes from the fact that we don't know what to do, right? You're just seeing a situation and you're like, what do I do now? But many a times with the right information, you feel empowered and encouraged and ready to keep going. So there is one resource that I've absolutely loved all these years. So Senna, if you can enable my sharing for a minute, just let me see if there's a way that I can share my screen. Okay, cool. So I'm going to be able to share my screen here in a minute. Okay. So if you can see this, right? Senna, can you see this?
I believe so, yes.
You see the rockers?
Yeah, I can see on the Zoom. I'm waiting for the YouTube to catch up.
Yeah, that's fine. So as long as you can see on the Zoom piece of it too,
Mhm.
where it says the box center. You
Yes,
see that?
yep, we're good.
Okay. All right. Excellent. All right. So I promised Dr. Spitonic, who is this wonderful woman. She is an amazing woman, professor of pediatrics and family medicine, and the founding executive director of the Box Center. The Box Center has been instrumental in my development in taking care of Nicholas, especially in the last 4 years of my life, this past 4 years. So this website is part of the Rutgers Robert Wood Johnson School of Medicine. And the Box Center on Developmental Disabilities is the New Jersey University Center of Excellence in Developmental Disabilities Education, Research, and Service. When it comes to research and it comes to materials, resources needed in the state of New Jersey, this is the go-to place. So for professionals watching, families watching, I want to encourage you to really check out this website. And I told Dr. Spitanic I was going to do this because it's oftentimes I mention the Box Center, people don't even know what I'm talking about. Through this program, so they offer two programs that I participated in. One was called Partners in Policymaking. And essentially, they bring together self-advocates, which are individuals that advocate for themselves. They may have special needs, and your parents and families and siblings and caregivers, and really pretty much train you on how to advocate for yourself, how to understand resources that are available, and how to leverage those resources. So I've been privileged to be a part of learning from this center. And then also, they're a great resource to the state. So the state of New Jersey Division of Developmental Disabilities actually contracts them to provide instruction and education for direct support professionals. So when I say that this is a huge resource, I'm not joking. I am serious about it, and I want families to know about it. So if you know someone that has an individual, I really, really encourage them to check out this website. They in particular have this information and resources related to COVID-19, and especially in dealing with intellectual disabilities and other developmental disabilities. So I just wanted to begin to, so for the next few weeks as we talk, as we come on there, I will show you elements of it, because I just thought that, it's something that we mentioned, like, oh, maybe check out this resource, and people don't always do it. So that's why I wanted to show it here. And I wanted to just make sure that people can fully see what I was showing. So on information related to COVID-19, especially as it pertains to individuals with developmental disabilities, and even more than that, there was one area that I thought, one resource that I absolutely have to share before we end tonight. And like I said, we'll talk about other resources that they have. One of them is really on how do you provide support for physical and emotional well-being and mental health. Very, very important. Right now, mental health is a big component. They have information about grief and loss. They have information about planning for emergencies. I'm going to go to that one for a minute. So, how do you plan ahead for the what ifs, right? So, the what ifs is so important. Right now we know that anything can happen, and God forbid that something does happen, at least you've prepared. We pray that nobody has to die, nobody gets sick unexpectedly, but it's very important that we start to have conversations with our family members. So, emergency planning for when a primary caregiver is not able to provide support is the name of this article. And I thought it was a really good, great one. And here it is. It talks about starting the planning process, sitting down and talking about this thing. And it's a tool, recognizing that we have what we call a circle of support, and deciding that, okay, you know what, I need to do something. So this is so and so's plan for emergency. This is the day we created. The plan is to be able to stay home. The plan in case of emergency, this is the person to call. This is a free resource. You can download this thing, right? And it lists medications and tips for taking the medication, who our current doctors are, who our physicians are. So the point here is that as caregivers, as parents, we need to make sure that we have put down exactly what we need so that in case of emergency, someone knows exactly what we need to do to care for our loved one. That is one of the crucial piece of it. So like I said, the goal here is starting to show you guys all the resources that are available. When we used to host our monthly support groups, I'll bring materials out and I'll share them at that time to share with families. But in this case, I think that this will be a great way to begin to share information when we come together every time we do this empowerment moment. So I hope that this has encouraged you somehow. And like I said, I wanted to use this as a means to highlight the Box Center. I will begin to start to highlight some of the organizations and companies or individuals who's given us resources that have been important. And I think this is a great way of demonstrating that with the right tools on this journey, you can make it through successfully. But planning is key. So we've come on here tonight to inspire, encourage, remind you the importance of the power of words, as I shared earlier. Don't let anybody live in your head rent free, right, Senna? Nobody lives in your head rent free. In other words, don't let people
Exactly.
get you so upset that you're thinking about them all the time, not in a positive manner. That's them living in your head rent free. We also talked about if you're finding yourself quarantining, creating a schedule, trying to engage your faculty so that you are changing the scenery to the best you can. Change your clothing so that you know what day of the week it is. Think about connecting with family and friends and calling loved ones, texting, doing FaceTime, using tools that can help you to really get through that process is very important. And then develop a new habit. We've always said, if I had time, I would do X, Y, and Z. Well, guess what? God is giving back some time. So use that. So if you're quarantining right now, you're watching us, well, we just encourage you right now. Right. And my prayer and hope that, we will all stay well. My prayer and hope is that as you go into the week of Thanksgiving, whether you are not able to do the family traditional things or not, remember that each day counts. Remember to, say, you love your loved ones, and you may not physically be able to connect now, but you will be able to connect soon. My dad just celebrated his 70th birthday, and unfortunately, we couldn't have a party, right? But we made sure that we connected and reminded each other how important life is. And so I know how hard it is for some of us who have maintained traditions for so long. But guess what? In this season, we need to maintain, ensure that we are alive next year so that we can have other celebrations. So think about that as you decide, feeling bad, don't feel bad, know that it's going to be all right. Before we end, I just want to remind our viewers and families who on our autism journey, we have an event on Sunday. It's a special Needs Fall Festival where we have students from Rutgers University who are putting on some amazing activities for our kids. So you definitely want to check us out at mygoalautism.org/events, and you'll get more information about Special Needs Fall Festival. And in December, check this out, Sean. In December 13th, we're going to have an event called Drive By Santa. So Santa Claus is going to drive by, and
I hope he comes here.
we're doing it. We're partnered with the North Brunswick Township School District. They've agreed to allow us to use their parking lot. So we're going to have a setup for Santa Claus to be out there so families can sign up and stop by, and Santa will give you a gift and, take a picture, drive by. So we're leveraging social distancing, but we don't want to miss the fact that we're still going to have as normalcy as we can. So we're getting creative. So my goal still continues to support families facing autism, and we want to make sure families know they're loved and cared for, and especially our special needs ones. We want you all to know that no matter what, we'll celebrate you. And I know that Santa Claus is going to come from the North Pole and still do the things that we will need to do with him. So that's going to come up on December 13th. More information to come very soon. But we just wanted to just let everybody know that, we are thinking about you, praying for you, and reminding you that you're cared for. The Lord loves you. I love you. Santa loves you. And the MyGOAL entire family loves you. And so on that note, this is the Empowerment Moment with Dr. G. We bless God for your life and ask for his protection, safety, guidance, and have a fantastic and wonderful Thanksgiving Day. So on that note, we say goodbye, and till we see you again in 2 weeks when we come back again to do Empowerment Moment with Dr. G. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one. Bye-bye now.
Bye.